Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, friend.
Let me tell y'all something. If y'all are listening, you need to run. Do not walk. Take a first-class flight to YouTube to see the outfit that Margo Catherine Lindauer is blessing the girls with today, baby. Because when I tell you head to toe, it's a banger. I'm just enthralled.
Do you want to hear the history of this outfit?
Of course.
So let's go back to September 8th, 2024.
Let's go back, girl.
To Fashion File, New York flagship.
Let's talk about it.
There was a woman who had this outfit on, and I actually very rarely do this, but I went up to her and I was like, where is that from?
It's Carrie, by the way. Carrie Spence, we love you.
She was wearing it with a black bra, low.
Of course she was.
It was... I'm not doing that, but they carry it at Bloomingdale's.
Oh.
And I found it, and I feel, you know, it's like one of these pieces for me that is so perfect for this season of my life, because there are moments where I want to look professional, but it's not like a black suit court look. So I used this for a training I did. And it's so comfy, and I don't have to suck in my stomach.
Oh, that's so great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me tell you something. That thing is nasty.
Thank you, friend. And it's coming from you.
Head to toe. And, okay, so I know I have this thing about getting things that you wear. I'm not going to do it this time.
It's, what do I say to my kids?
What?
It's flattering.
But I do think, so Carrie is about my height, and you are petite. And it looked stunning on both of y'all. So
it just looks different.
Y'all got the cheat code.
Thank you. Okay. What are we talking about today?
Today, it's about, like, adopting an I don't give a fuck attitude. So we know over the summer, this one phrase was trending. You probably know it. It went something like, very mindful, very demure, very cutesy. And it was funny. But I also thought to myself, should we ever as women seek to be demure in a literal sense? And what does it mean to be demure? Especially when it comes down to success, ambitions, achieving goals, you kind of got to adopt the I don't give a fuck attitude. So we want to talk about what that has looked like in our lives, and we would love to hear from you all as well.
And I think this intersects with something that we're going to talk about maybe at a later point too, about how that intersects or has tension with disappointing people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because oftentimes they're in opposition to one another. So us holding ourselves to the expectation of not giving a shit also comes with the very real reality that that's going to make people in our lives unhappy.
There's a blowback.
And how do we hold that?
How do we hold space for both? How do we, as my therapist once said, adopt an internal center of validation versus an external center of validation? Because that's really what that amounts to, in my opinion. But question for you, have you seen the Martha Stewart documentary?
Obvi.
Girl, I tell you, Martha Stewart is that bitch. The first thing that really stood out to me, I have to be honest, because Martha Stewart has been old our whole lives. Let's just be honest. For me, by the time I knew who she was at least 172 years old. And lovely. Just made the cover of Sports Illustrated, baby. So no shade, no tea. But because of that, I have not realized, and the documentary shows her from a young model throughout the years, how this woman has been a baddie. Did you know she's always been a baddie, Margo?
Yeah. Do you know how I knew that?
Your mom?
Well, kind of. My friend from elementary school's mom was her roommate at Barnard.
Girl, you lying?
Nope.
No.
And they modeled together in New York.
Do you think we can get her on the show?
No.
Oh. So close.
I don't think they're friends anymore. But my mom met her once on Martha's Vineyard. She was there for some garden
of course
event.
And we know that Miss Laney is a tremendous gardener.
And my mom's friend brought my mom to meet Martha Stewart as she was getting prepared, and my mom couldn't get over that she traveled with her nail tech. That was the takeaway.
Because how dare you have a chipped nail as you're planting your peonies, Margo? Exactly. That's not realistic.
So yes, I have known she is always, nothing about the documentary surprised me, except how sad I felt in some moments.
Okay.
What about you?
We'll get there because I do think that the documentary, if you all have not seen it, deserves an entire conversation.
Mhm.
I am planning content around it because the business brilliance that the documentary tracks is something that I never knew about because we were so young. I was so young, and obviously my mom didn't meet her on Martha's Vineyard, so I knew a lot less about her. But
She didn't wear ballet slipper in your mind?
no. She did not wear ballet slipper. So by the time she was indicted on these federal charges was 2004. After that, so much of her life changed. But we were in our early 20s at that time. So what the documentary really tracked was this rise of this media mogul and what she called an omnimedia company. And what really stood out to me, friend, was how much of a shark she is.
Yeah, total shark.
So, what I thought about in relation to today's episode, I promise you all this story had a point, is that this is a woman who outwardly, created cookbooks. She's in her garden. She got bed. She's down in Kmart. Modern homemaking was her brand. And so some would argue it was very demure. It was very mindful. Yet in real life, she's threatening to fire her stockbroker because she doesn't like to hold music at the company. Bitch is running shit and she's unapologetic. She cussed the lady out for using a small knife to cut the orange. She's not playing no games. And she herself was a stockbroker
Mhm.
in the 70s, early 80s, when there were no women on Wall Street. And she held her own. And so she definitely had and still has a I don't give a fuck attitude. I'm going to say what I mean. I'm going to mean what I say. I am not trying to be nice. But that wasn't her business. It's not how she got rich. It's not her business model that she sold to everyday Americans. You may disagree.
So it's so interesting. No, I don't disagree. I well, I guess do you think that's good?
I think that it made me sad to think that she was actually selling just one part of who she is. Because do I think that she is a self-trained chef whose food may be tasty? I've never had it. Do I think that she hit this sensibility that a lot of people have outside of gender and that we can learn from around what it means to make your home beautiful and that you deserve that? Absolutely. But I think I would have actually appreciated and still would love to see a Martha Stewart like business course, a master class.
You have to go to jail.
Oh,
She gave all those women at the
I
jail at
saw
Camp Cupcake.
that.
Why did
I
they call
saw
it Camp Cupcake?
because there wasn't nothing cupcake about it. But she did give them an entrepreneurship course. I'm not going to jail to get it because I'm not coming out with one of those ugly ass ponchos. That's one of my top reasons for not going to jail.
What about the coffee?
I mm-mm.
Sorry, that's not we shouldn't joke about going to jail.
No, no. Not under this administration. But I think that I was saddened, as I said, by the fact that her business acumen is not what precedes her reputation. What it seems to be is her homemaking skills.
So that's so interesting. So I thought the business aspect was fascinating, right? Like she was the first influencer or solopreneur, right? That she was able to monetize
All parts.
all parts of homemaking that had never been monetized in that way. She was able to do high-low, which also had never been done. Like her partnering with Kmart, many saw as the end of her career, but it was really the beginning of her career, right?
Absolutely.
And what do we see now? Like Target, Kmart, well, Kmart doesn't exist, but like Target and big box stores partnering with high brand like luxury brands,
Mhm.
H&M, like
Yeah,
that's now just something that
that's
brands
true.
do. And that was, I think, because of Martha Stewart. I experienced the documentary as sad. One, because she was um like I I don't know a story of a woman who is successful in that way who hasn't had to give up a lot. And
Mhm.
and right. And she
Mhm.
hurt a lot of people along the way. Clearly. I mean, she had this reputation
Mhm.
of being a jerk.
Mhm.
And 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 did that mean that she deserved to go to jail for lying to the FBI about like a call she had with her stockbroker. I don't think so. I mean, I think she was set up, and that they wanted to get her because she was so successful. I don't think a man in her position would have been targeted that way.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of empathy for her, and I think it was unjust, and it was a way to get at her business, which also seems so backwards because she was the first
Woman
woman.
billionaire.
But do I think does it make me sad that like the model of female success in a particular way is someone who is unkind? Yes.
What do you mean is someone who is unkind?
Like like the message, like, to get to this point you have to be a shark. You have to be a
Oh,
bitch.
it's funny because I didn't mind that. Maybe it's because I like being a bitch.
No
So
comment.
this is gonna be the fuck you. Psychoanalysis coming now.
Therapizing language. I want to fire someone for music.
Period.
That was so crazy.
Not. Okay, now that is extreme. But so that is extreme. But let me tell you how I think that, and this gets to our point today. Women, and specifically, we know Dr. Nicole LaPera calls it good girl conditioning, have this belief that we cannot show up transparently, authentically, and forcefully and detail oriented for fear that it is going to hurt people's feelings in our business. And that is insanity to me. Because if I will hurt your feelings about anything, it is going to be my business. And I am absolutely unapologetic about that. Am I trying to imitate Donald Trump and a white man? Am I trying to make somebody walk to the Bronx and get cheesecake like Diddy? Absolutely not. I do not seek to exploit. I do not seek to be nefarious nor malicious. But what I'm going to do is gather that ass about politics and fashion, LLC. And I think there's
justUS Podcast LLC too. But also a priority.
No, for sure. I was just saying that because I get to make all the decisions there, right? And I think that the times when I second guess myself for fear of not being nice is when I have made the worst decisions around my brand. I have kept people on too long. I have not hired people. I have overlooked mistakes early that bothered me. I have tried to be nice. And I don't want to be nice in business. I don't want to actually be nice in my real life. I want to be kind. I want to be kind. And I think there is a very marked differentiation based upon how we are socialized.
Mm. Wow. I guess what I am sitting with is to get to where you are or where Martha Stewart is, you have to get over the hurdle of the fear of disappointing people. And I think that's where a lot of women get stuck.
Yeah, I think that's real. I think so. So let me tell you on my path on Maslow's hierarchy, the stage that I am right now is that as hard as it is, I'm willing to do the thing. I get stuck at feeling bad about having done the thing. So it's not as if I won't do it, because I will. I'll do it. I'll have the difficult conversation. I will disappoint someone. I will let someone go. I will redirect. I will hold accountable. But I'll feel bad about it. And that's the thing. I don't want to be a sociopath. So some feeling I think is important. But at the same time, why can't the decision just be, I just want to stand 10 toes down on some stuff.
That makes me think of, I went to this talk about, kind of not about what we're talking about, but about teen mental health or teen girls and their mental health. And it was this amazing author who also has a podcast. So if she wants to come on, she wrote Untangled and the Emotional Lives of Girls.
Oh yeah, you talked to me about this.
And she talked about kind of modeling rest as a form of healthy parenting. And saying this gets back to your point, but this idea that guilt-soaked rest is not rest. So if you're like forcing yourself to like slow down, but you're feeling bad about it, your kids or the people around you see that, feel that, your body feels that, your mind feels that. So if you like lean into rest as a form of care and do it unapologetically,
I like this.
In this case, your daughters see that as something that is normalized.
Yep.
I think the same can be true for what you're saying in business. Like, this is my business, these are my expectations. I'm not gonna feel bad about them. I can be kind, but I don't have to apologize for them.
At all. At all. And to your point, it's so interesting, we be on the same wavelength. I had that moment recently, where I had to give very transparent feedback. And I remember the next day I woke up and I was still holding like, I don't want to say sadness, but like going back and forth about whether I had made the right decision about it. And I told myself, I was in the kitchen making some coffee, bitch, stop. Stop feeling bad about this. You said what you said, you did what you did, move on and have a great day. And it was that moment of mindfulness and self awareness that I honestly needed to have with myself because my autopilot, our conditioning tells us to feel bad about being direct, to feel bad about being transparent, to feel bad when we are not demure.
Feel bad about asking for support.
All of these things are 100% true. And what Michael Singer told us in The Untethered Soul is that we are not the ones that are talking, we are the ones who are listening. And so that loop of negative self-talk, we are the ones that are listening to that. We tell ourselves, I was being mean. I wasn't nice. That was bad. Why I did that? My face, I should have fixed my face. You're listening to that. And it dictates every single step that we take. And we have to force ourselves outside of that loop to change, I think, our behaviors.
Can you talk about the racial element from your analysis around this? Because we've talked about this on the podcast
Mhm.
before, and I think like minds can differ.
Yeah.
And we've had this tension too in our
Mhm.
business.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think it's race, I think it's geographic, I think it's class. In the ways that we're raised, not where we are today, but the early messaging that we receive. Because people who were raised like me believe and are taught and told that you confront issues directly. You never allow yourself to be bullied. If I came home and told my grandmother that I was being bullied and I was crying about it, I got in trouble. Because how could I allow myself to be victimized in that way? It wasn't the bully's problem, it was mine. You stand up to people who threaten you. You stand up for yourself, for others. You speak loudly. You say that shit with your whole chest.
And I would just say the messaging that I got was you tell a teacher.
My grandmother literally never. My sisters are not telling their children that, I guarantee you. It's funny. So I used to be the deputy director at a homeless children's organization. I remember one day sitting on the playground and just observing the kids. I didn't say anything. I wasn't directing them. I had staff that was doing that. I was just listening. And I remember um, overhearing one little girl specifically say, so and so took my bike. And my staff person say, oh my God, did you tell your mom? And she said, no, she's 6. I'm going to handle it myself. 6 years old. And so this idea that you could be threatened and not confront it in a real way is like, you ain't living right, dog. That is not how you are allowed to show up in the world.
But there's something there,
Absolutely.
right? Because if we have all of these children who are taught to approach issues differently, and then we expect all of us as women or as allies, as co-conspirators to be on the same page, then we're barking up the wrong hill because we don't have the same language or training.
The lexicon is completely different, which is why I talk about, especially in workplaces, these white dominant norms and how oftentimes, and there are probably people who are listening to this who are Black people, people from poor backgrounds, who just didn't know that we were coming from two markedly different experiences in how we deal with conflict, for example, at work, right? I didn't know I was supposed to fix my face when I went into a meeting. If I'm unhappy, you can't see that on I didn't know I was supposed to hide my emotions on my face, right? I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to be direct with my supervisor and I was supposed to kind of pretend that I didn't do the thing that I know, but I didn't do that. But then I have to pretend like it's my fault. But really you made the mistake, right? Because my conditioning and my teaching tells me to stand up for myself at all times. And I want to say here, because someone's going to say, well, it sounds like you're being me. This is how stereotypes get started. Because it is not me being the angry or the mean Black woman. It is me, number one, standing up for myself, but it's also holding people around me accountable. And I was told that those were very, very high values, for sure. But what were you told outside of tell a teacher?
I don't remember. I mean, I remember I was bullied a little bit when I was in elementary school. I was very, very small. So I was like made fun of a lot about my height. And there was this one young girl who sometimes put her hands on me.
What you mean?
She strangled me.
Bitch, what?
Yeah. But but I think I was just told to tell a teacher.
But where is she now?
I mean, like, where does she
Yeah,
live?
could we find her?
No, to share.
Oh.
I mean, sure. So my learning around this, I think, really kind of solidified for me during high school when I saw what I would describe now as not directly impacting me so much, but like coercive sexual encounters
Mhm.
or like coercive social norms
Yeah.
around drinking, drugs, sex, and learning how to be in relationship to other people in an intimate way. And then like really solidified for me in college and then in law school and then the work I did around intimate partner violence. And as now a mother of 3 young women, or soon to be young women, I guess I only have 1 young woman, but 3 girls, who are all so different. And the idea of like being unapologetically themselves is so core to how I parent them
Yeah.
and wanting them to dictate what their own paths are. And that is different than the kind of narratives I got, but that's because I I am able to provide that for them.
Yeah. I'm thinking about specifically your oldest daughter. I mean, I wish I had half of what she has because I cannot imagine her not going into a room and making demands and setting expectations and having people around her meet them.
So, my concern about her, though, is that she's going to self-isolate
Oh, because of how dumb everybody else is.
because of
I mean, we can call a thing a thing.
no, but
She's
because
brilliant.
of some of the troubling social norms.
Yeah. So she's gonna recognize that and be like, I don't want no part of it. And but let's just point this out though, because for her, the alternative, which is to assimilate, is not a fucking
No,
option.
mm-mm.
And I think when it comes down to this good girl conditioning, some of us just don't see that conditioning to be an option, even if it means that your career can advance. You can be in a relationship. You can have the pick me mentality and the boy will choose you. For some of us, it's just like, fuck that. I'm not actually going to play that game with you. And I think she's one of those people.
Yeah.
Love
So
that.
my middle daughter has been bullied at her new school by one child.
Okay.
And she was afraid to tell me.
Wait,
And she told Josh, but told Josh not to tell me.
from your interpretation, what does that mean? What do they think that you're going to do?
I don't know, like set the school on fire. I don't know. I mean, it was troubling to me that she didn't tell me, but actually to your experience, I think she wanted to handle it on her own.
Yeah.
She's at a new school. She entered in a grade where there are only 2 other new students. This one little girl was assigned to be her science partner, and when she realized that Valea was her partner, she looked at Valea, rolled her eyes, and walked away. And then she said that Valea was stupid. She like kept like egging Valea on, and Valea, my interpretation was that she was trying to deal with it on her own. And then when it got too much, she told Josh, and then told Josh not to tell me, but he obviously told me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I approached my daughter and I said, I'm not going to do anything that makes you uncomfortable, but I can use my voice, as can you.
Mm-hmm. I
And
like
she
that.
talked to her teacher, who had noticed that this was happening with multiple children. And then I talked to the teacher I didn't set up a meeting or anything. It was just like during our parent-teacher conferences, and it's being handled. This child has issues, clearly.
Yeah.
But I think both are important. I think it's important to know that you have adults who are willing to go at it for you.
Absolutely.
And I think it's important to try to navigate on your own.
Yeah. And let me just say, I am not saying that my grandmother's approach was always right. Because there could have been situations where I was being like threatened with real harm and I was told
Deal with
at
it.
6 to go deal with it. So I'm not saying that at all. I think the point I was trying to make is those stories make us who we are today.
Yeah.
That's your coworker, that's your colleague, that's the nurse treating your child.
But it's also the ability to be okay with people not liking you.
And it is also that, because if I'm being transparent, there's something about the nicety and the pleasantry that I did not experience Black girls wanting to have as part of their identity.
Do you think that's changed with social media?
I think that, again, I'm talking about my background, so I think that's always been different based upon class. So I think about the way that, for example, my mom's friends, who I love, they raised their daughter versus the way that I was being raised. So our environments were completely different. And this idea of you got hands, you know how to fight, was actually a moniker of success and social capital where I'm from.
Yeah, hands to yourselves in my community.
See? And so when we talk about being demure versus having an I don't give a fuck attitude, there's part of, I think, my acculturation that makes the latter a little bit easier for me. Friend, how has your sleep been?
So you know how I know that I'm well through a dark time?
Tell me.
100%.
Period.
Actually, I had 91% yesterday.
Girl.
I am the only person on this planet who only uses my Whoop to track my sleep. I don't care about my exercise. No, that's not true. I'm now doing my steps, 10,000 a day.
Okay, good.
Do you know that I actually basically walk 10,000 steps just in my house? Up and down the stairs, getting...
That makes sense, actually.
That's like 3 miles.
Yeah, that makes sense, which is also why I often say that moving our bodies is one of the most important forms of physical activity that we can do.
But it could just be like going up and down and doing laundry or something.
You don't have to be CrossFit people.
Right. So my sleep has been really great, and I feel really proud of that. And I really like my Whoop. And I'm getting people to join left and right, like your partner. She and I are on a team, Wedding Ready.
Mind you, she thinks that I planted that. And I'm like, do you know Margo Lindauer?
No,
I had nothing to do with that.
It is so fun, and it is so fun to support each other and affirm each other in our sleep and exercise endeavors. So thank you to Whoop for sponsoring me for my good sleep. And I will just say that there are just fundamental things we can do to take care of ourselves, particularly in a big age, and sleep and rest is that. There is no way that we can show up unless we're rested.
And our bodies heal themselves when they're sleeping, as you often remind me. So absolutely, I'm so happy that you and my partner both have this, and so many of our listeners and our viewers. The person, though, who has not been invited to either of your Whoop teams is me.
Well, Tashira, would you wear a Whoop?
I just wanted to bring this back full circle, because the last time you were talking about your Whoop team, I said, oh, I'll join. You said I didn't invite you.
You're not in my affirmation polycule.
Okay. And then...
Because, Tashira, why do you think you're not in my affirmation polycule? You are not good at texting.
Okay, I received that. But why would I have not been invited to the Wedding Ready?
Because you didn't get a Whoop. And I was worried that you wouldn't like how it looked.
Listen, kind people down at Whoop, here in our audience, I will wear the Whoop. I will do the thing. I'm experiencing a lot of rejection.
So Tashira is welcome to Wedding Ready.
Again.
And let's just see.
As I said last time.
Who sleeps the most?
As I said last time, it's too late. Okay? Now, if there's somebody out there who wants to join my Whoop group, let me know, and we're going to get started after this episode.
Okay, well, use our unique code. Join.whoop.com/justusPod. and you can join our team. Thanks all.
You can join my team.
Entering something into the chat here. The idea of being demure as privilege.
Whoa, I'm about to run around this girl and do a full praise dance. Come on.
And this idea of being like a beautiful, soft, elegant white lady and having the safety to be demure as social capital that is really only afforded to people who are wealthy and white. So that's one thing. The other is just maybe more about you and me. Is this why, like, we never really were ever successful in organizations? Like, because we just couldn't handle the bullshit?
I think about that all
I think about it too.
time.
And I think about it even in my own business now, where I've had to confront some like social hierarchy that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I am so dumb at it. I am so bad at it, Tashira.
I don't see, thinking about me in the corporate space is like watching a science fiction film. It's like I can't even imagine what that would have been like. Playing the game, knowing unspoken rules and actually or like trying to figure them out and like doing the thing and networking. I'm just like, bitch, I'm smart. I work hard. What else do you want me to do? Because those are the only tenets of my job description. Things outside of that, I have never been adept or really cared enough to attempt to figure out and to be good at.
And to see, I mean, it's like a different world. Like my friends who are in the corporate space and how much time they have to give to just being present in these particular settings.
Yeah, it's real.
Like sitting at the right table, going to the right fundraiser, donate. I mean, it gets dark, donating to the right cause. And then you're like, what the heck? This is a job. Are you doing your job well? Or are you going to the right restaurant? I don't know.
No, that's your job.
And I don't understand. Like I just wouldn't be able to do it.
I mean, yeah, so I don't think this is what Jontavia and Carisha from City Girls meant when they said, I don't work jobs, I am a job. But if they were two white girls from the Cape, that is what they would mean. I am a job. I have to be in the places doing the things with the people on the message. I don't work jobs. I am a job. My job is not my job. My job is this thing.
I don't really understand what you're saying, but
somebody will get it.
I think it's really smart, and I would like
below.
I would like to continue on this conversation around demure as a privilege.
Yes. So I love the idea of how you said it's a privilege, because I think that a lot of Black women who are listening to me speak right now are going to say, aha, this has been the origin of my frustration and the animosity and the conflict I've had with white women, specifically at work, which is that we have been socialized in completely different ways. So there may be some privileges, especially at work, that being more demure, being more soft-spoken, not being as forceful with your opinions has provided. We come to the table having never had that privilege in a real way. Not historically, and not by what much of the data says around socioeconomic status in this country today either, right? We are breadwinners. We are supporting generations in our families. We are especially what's considered high earners in this country, holding down not just our like nuclear family, but people outside of us. Like I'm donating to my second cousin's college fund type of thing.
Correct.
Is a very
your goddaughter's dance camp.
It is a very normative experience for us. And so the fact that I am in the world in my daily experience, the decision maker, the breadwinner, all of these things, and I would get to work and pretend to be demure, is insanity. It's cognitive dissonance. And what it also, I think, does is going back to not being transparent for white women, or being told that it's not nice to be direct, is that they won't say the thing. And so I get to my performance review and I'm seeing like 1s, 2s, 3s. Meanwhile, I've given myself all 5s because I think I'm great at my job. You haven't told me that there's a problem with my performance,
Right.
but it's because you haven't wanted to give direct feedback for fear of being mean. And we tend to operate in a space of directness because that is all we know. And in our communities, it's actually privileged.
So I think there's another part of this conversation that's so interesting around generational communication. I just did a training on generational communication
Yep.
at a large organization, and kind of the different messages we've all gotten depending on the generation that we're in around professionalism, communication, expectation, hard work. And this conversation around the pick me, but also the trophy generation, like everyone shouldn't need a trophy.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, but like who was the generation that gave all those kids trophies? And so maybe that's not related at all, but there's something there too about people who are conditioned to getting positive feedback all the time, and then if they don't get it, feeling very vulnerable, versus people who have just like worked hard and done their jobs,
Oh, I see what you're
and
saying.
and like that's the thing.
Yeah, there was probably arguably it could be stated that of older generations or even geriatric millennials like us, we might be a bit more comfortable because of the ways in which we were socialized around some directness.
Yeah,
Um,
because I don't have an issue. I mean, I'm just one person, but also being a professor, I felt it was my obligation to give constructive feedback.
True.
Like I can't give everyone an A. So I'm giving myself grace
Of
about,
course.
but you're right that I do have a weird nice conditioning in the workplace. But it's because it's based out of fear. Like
Talk about this,
I,
please.
I have had bosses that have scared me so much and have been so scared of being fired. And I am a hard worker.
Absolutely.
I probably was never close to ever being fired.
I could not imagine.
But maybe I was, but that trauma, I guess, or like like I was always so afraid of failing. I never was close to failing. And so this idea of like being nice and getting people to like you, even if it doesn't even matter, like what do you make then of what's going on? Because we see in the political realm, right? We
Yeah,
see Trump and all of his folks, predominantly white men, not giving a fuck. Clearly
at all.
saying the thing, doing the thing. And then we had another candidate who we supported who wasn't able to say anything.
At
It
all.
appeared.
Mm-mm. Margo, I can't call it. I don't. It's part of why I've never been in politics because I don't understand the game in that way, and I'm not willing to give that part of myself. And I'm not saying that Kamala gave us something that was inauthentic, but there is part of her that was clearly not palatable enough, but is considered palatable to the majority of America, white Americans. Not her as an individual, but like her as an archetype of what it means to be a black woman. Right? She's progressive, but she ain't too radical. She, is prosecutor, so she understands tough on crime. She's not like them. Her look, her presentation, she's married to a white man. Like she checks these boxes of respectability and palatability. And that was still not enough. So a bitch like me is like, well, fuck it. Like I'm coming in guns blazing because at this point, you've told me that the things I was supposed to do wasn't enough. I'm just going to be me. But that is also my educational privilege speaking. That is my regional privilege speaking. I'm in a progressive part of the country. And it's the fact that I am a business owner, my career privilege speaking. So I have made a brand out of being myself. Everybody can't fucking that ain't how my sister gonna pay her bills. So I don't know what advice that is going to land that I could give to people in light of what we're facing right now.
What about I'm just gonna play something out for size.
Please.
Like what we've been doing isn't working.
Period.
So why don't we live unapologetically while keeping our sister safe. Like, it's not working.
Not working.
And so I don't think I think we come at this from different orientations, certainly. And like I do respect elders, and I get that there are levels of bureaucracy. I mean, actually, when it comes to, so this is interesting about you. I think you're weird about, you have like a weird respectability politics with elders.
Oh, for sure.
So, but that's also conditioning.
But I don't think it's weird. I think it's cultural.
Not weird. Maybe weird isn't the right word. Like, you're like, I don't give a fuck, blah, 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 blah. But Mrs. Karen, let me get you some coffee.
Of course, but getting Miss Karen some coffee does not change how I live my day-to-day life. Because if I was that deferential, I would not be saying the word coochie online, because my granddaddy just told me to stop saying coochie. He literally just said, this is children's listening to you. Stop saying coochie. And I said, Granddaddy, you right. You so right about that. And then I got on the podcast today, and what I just do, I said coochie, because it's my shit. This my shit.
So there's a duality in all of us, I
In all
guess.
of us.
Okay, so no, but getting back to like this idea, the message, right? Whatever the message is, whatever has been told to us isn't working.
It's not.
So maybe the message is like, this is the time to do something else if it's not working for you.
To choose different. Choose different. We talked about that before plenty of times. Yeah. If it's not working for you, choose different. Don't be afraid. Based upon the, we're going to have another episode that's all about sending in your duality in all of who you are. Hold space for all of your parts, and do so unapologetically. And I think if you have tried to play nice, if you have tried the good girl lane and you are no happier for it, you don't feel any more safe, protected, and your bag ain't gotten bigger, then I would argue it's time to do something different. Yeah, maybe it's a new spouse, maybe it's a new career. Maybe
you sell your minivan.
You see what I'm saying? You can create boundaries. You can take that vacation. There are plenty of things that you can do that would demonstrate more of an I don't give a fuck attitude. And I know that we have a lot of elders who listen to us, and I'm so happy. People like Miss Jan, right? Who she models to us all the time what it means to have that attitude. So please let us know down below how you are embracing that in your golden era, which I really think is the era after a big age, because I cannot wait to be an attitude no elder bitch. Y'all gonna get it.
So what I would like to hear is from all of the generations that are listening and watching about the ways that they are allowing themselves to like either embrace this or not. I'm really interested in both, because I think the counter to I don't give a fuck or like mindful demure doesn't sit well with me because that's not me is no, that is me. Like I that's who I want to be.
It's kind of like when you go to the zoo and like you're looking at the animal through the cage. I'm like, what would that existence be like? To your core. I'm such an extrovert until I have to remember that there is a space for people who don't show up with so much raw. The raw, raw, raw. It's just not
There
who
are
they
people,
are.
I mean, we have to like hold space for people who don't want to be bold, who don't want things to change, who want to be told what to do.
Nah, dog. Are you listening to yourself?
I'm not saying agree with, but hold space for. You don't agree? What, we just throw them off the Brooklyn Bridge? Like
I think they have to be challenged, because why would you want to be told what to do?
Because it's easier.
This is true. This is true.
Sometimes I just want someone to tell me what to do.
Margo, stop lying.
I do.
You're like, should I get bubble bath today or should I get...
No, I mean more like, how do you fucking organize a calendar?
Okay.
How do you meal plan?
This is fair.
For 5 people when you don't have time to cook? How do you get your 8 hours of sleep and read a book and do your work and be a good parent and a good spouse?
That's fair.
I
I
mean,
there is some benefit to having the decision fatigue taken off of our shoulders,
but you're right, I don't want that,
but still within
obviously.
parity,
Yeah, yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't I just mean that there are a lot of people who aren't gonna resonate with this message. That
yeah.
they're like, "Actually, I don't like, yeah, we should be more demure. We should be more mindful, like, eat your salad."
Eat your salad, be demure. Uh, so okay. Last thing I'm gonna say about it. I receive every word of that, but I think you can be an introvert and still hold people accountable, have strong boundaries,
Mm,
and be transparent and
me
direct.
too.
And I think sometimes people who actually are the best at that are the ones who are the quietest. Because when you got to talk about it, you're probably not really doing the thing. It's like, don't talk about it, be about it.
Mm.
And so I think people who are just kind of like, that quiet force that just comes in. We all know this person. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's our partner. Both of them.
And sing.
It's like, "Yeah, this is me. What?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do this thing."
And that's just, and the thing was done. And that's just what it was.
"Yeah, what? I just bought a bike. What?
Yeah. What is,
I need another fanny pack.
I
Vest."
just, I just rode 30 miles today. Yeah. Just, I did it. I just planned a 3-week vacation to Europe. Big deal. Like, did it all. Just, okay. So we hope you all have enjoyed today's episode. Friend, any last thoughts?
I'm really interested in hearing from people about the ways that this time has catalyzed a feeling of living out loud.
Mm,
In
yeah.
a way, or the opposite, like the fear associated with this time making people go inward. And I will just leave you all with this really special thing that my therapist shared with me that I feel like was a gift during my session 2 days ago. And she was like, Margo, because I shared with her this concern I had about going inward, like all I want to do, not all I want to do, no one should worry about me, but like I really just like want to be alone and sleep
Yeah.
and feeling dark. And she was like, when you allow outside forces to dim your light, you're dimming it for everyone.
Mhm.
And you wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
And so it's an act of service to live authentically, especially in a moment where people's identities are directly being threatened, even if it's not your own identity.
I agree. Sound off below. You all, please let us know how you feel about today's topic. How, as Margo said, do you stand in your light or not? Have you been struggling post election? We would love to know. We are a community. In the meantime, we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks, friend.
Thanks for listening to justUS. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to learn more about our podcast, be sure to check us out on our website at justuspodcast.com. You can also reach out to us there if you want to be featured on the show or if you have a business or a product that you think would be a good fit for our audience. Thanks again for listening.